unless you show me how you bleed, right? Unless you can show me your humanity, then I will begin to trust you and I will go to war with you. So many clients, I'm just like, you're not ready to work with me, because it's like, I'm not going to bleed more than you are. Like, I'm willing to walk with you, but I'm not going to go places that you're not willing to go. I've got stuff to do. Redemption cannot come without crucifixion, right? Resurrection cannot come. We're going to suffer unto resurrection, and that's a good thing.
Welcome to Husband Material. Today on the show, we have author and therapist Andrew Bauman, who's actually the first repeat guest on Husband Material.
Woo! Yes. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. This is actually our third episode because we did one on beauty, we did one on grief, and now we're talking about the sexually healthy man.
Yes. Yeah, new book just came out with, and I'm excited about it. I'm proud of it, and got a lot of good feedback. And it seems to be really fitting the need in the market, where we're having a nuanced conversation, not just about behavior modification, but literally how to get to the depths of sexual health. And then also not just focusing on porn, not just focusing on unhealth and focusing on what's wrong with us, but how do we become healthy? How do we actually step into what God has called us to be in our sexuality?
And this is such a refreshing difference from purity culture.
Yes,
and
exactly.
You talk about the two extremes that are usually answering this question, what is a sexually healthy man? And one is a shame-based answer, and one is shamelessness. Could you talk about the difference between shame and shamelessness?
Yeah, for me, growing up in the South and the True Love Waits movement and Southern Baptist, I mean, it was shame, sex is bad. And then throw in my own secret addiction to pornography for 13 years. I began to hate myself, right? I began to turn on myself. So much shame and self-hatred that I couldn't actually get out of my addiction, because I needed that addiction to objectifying women to help me survive the self-hatred and the contempt. And so it's this vicious cycle. And then, later in my development, in my healing, 13 years ago, start graduate school to become a therapist, then move out to Seattle. It's this much more progressive idea, which was so liberating in so many ways. And then I began to experience this other side, which is this shamelessness, which is this like, no, we're free from shame. So there's no rules. There's no boundaries. I can just have sex with whoever I want, whenever I want, and do whatever I want. And let's just call it good. Let's just bless it. Let's not judge people for, whatever harm they're perpetrating. And the thing is I don't want to shame people or judge them, but also to know that even though it's permissible, it's not beneficial, right? Mm-hmm. Like you've heard that before. Like, what is actually helpful to our healing? Not just, am I allowed to go this far or do this sexual thing? Or it's just, porn has taught us these things, and we've pornified our sexuality in such a way. And so that's kind of the picture of the two extremes.
It makes a lot of sense. It sounds very familiar to me. It's almost like the angel and the devil on my shoulder, of shame on the one side and shamelessness on the other side.
Right. And that's the thing. When so many of us have grown up with porn and it taught us how to be sexual men, it's like we have these, and then we have this religious structure that says one thing. What a cluster of mixed messages that sets us up for failure. And that's why I'm so glad for you and other guys in this work that are having these conversations that are much more rooted, without that shame, and also that calls us to something more, that calls us to integrity as well.
It's almost as if the church has given us a very clear, vivid picture of what a sexually healthy man is not, right? This is sexual unhealth. This is sexual unhealth. And then porn has actually taught us a lot of things and been our educator and our parent in so many ways. And it's given us a picture of sexual health, which is so unhealthy.
Yes, it's not healthy at all. It's about domination, subjugation, objectification. It's about dominating, making women less than. It's rooted in violence against women. And then we take that and then we mix it with kind of the subtle sexist messages of the church that men are somehow better and that we are somehow, in charge. And yet, as we learn how to objectify and dominate women.
Yes.
And it really sets us up for failure.
Yes. And also men, with porn featuring men, it's equally unhealthy. And we have a lot of listeners here who are attracted to porn, which does not feature women. And yet it's still dominating. It's still objectifying. I was struck by your description, Andrew, of being addicted to objectification.
Yes. Because what does objectification give us? If we sit with that, if I feel insecure inside of myself, and if I feel shame or self-hatred, objectification gives me an instant hit of power. It instantly makes me feel better than you, more powerful than you. I can feel like a man, right? And so it's this false sense of I'm going to devour and objectify, and I feel better. I feel stronger. And again, it's a false sense. It's a hit, just like any other drug, that'll get you through a little bit until you fall flat on your face.
So porn is giving us the illusion of power. Yes,
exactly. And we get off on that, right? That's part of the arousal. That's part of the arousal of it. It's this, I feel strong, I feel powerful. And again, it's a false sense of power that does not come from our deep center or who we are.
Right. And it doesn't come from God. And I can see how, especially this year, 2020, when so many of us are feeling powerless.
Yes.
That porn use would increase.
Exactly. Powerless to change, powerless to fix. We are confronted with our futility, right? We're confronted with our powerlessness. So then we have to grieve. Then we have to face our brokenness. We have to tell the truth. Oh, how about I just masturbate and look at porn? Because I don't want to feel those things.
And you give us such a beautiful invitation to feel, to grieve, to come back to our bodies in this book. What does it mean to come back to my body? If somebody's hearing that and they're like, I'm in my body when I'm using porn, it's very physical and sexual.
Right. Yeah, I would say that couldn't be further from the truth. Basically, when we use pornography, we have to disconnect. Okay, so I remember for me, later in my porn use, I was a pastor as well. And I had to disconnect, right? Because what if I told the truth? What if I said that I was harming, objectifying women on Tuesday night and then preaching, to the youth group and the college students on Wednesday night? And what if, I can't live with that type of disparity. I have to split. I have to psychologically split. So that's where I become two different people. That's where I become this, dynamic preacher and then this hidden secret shame that ends up destroying me, literally destroying me, and end up in a psych ward about 15 years ago, so to the steps of death, because I could no longer live with the duality within myself. I had to become a single authentic person and not live with that split.
So porn was not taking you into your body. It was splitting you into two separate people.
Exactly. So there's that feeling where you almost look at yourself from above, right? As I'm looking at myself, pretending to do life. And what I've realized working with men so much is that we're actually way more disconnected than many of our female counterparts, because women, their menstrual cycle, many of them giving birth, many of them, they are forced to engage their bodies in a very unique way, where the only thing that roots us in our body a lot of times is just pain, physical pain, which some of us just kind of the whole man up, the whole socialization of masculinity is so damaging, because then it just, again, we push through our pain. I remember about 13 years ago, I attempted a through hike of the Appalachian Trail, and I was about 600 miles in or something, and the pain in my feet started just killing me. just killing me. I couldn't walk. So I hitchhiked to a foot doctor, and they gave me some pills. I just started pounding these pills. And I went and hiked another 300 miles. And I literally, by the end, my feet would swell up so big, I'd have to ice them in the rivers. But my masculinity was riding on, if I could finish this trail, this 2,173 miles, I wasn't a man if I didn't finish this through hike. And yet I couldn't walk. I'm literally using my trekking poles as crutches, and my feet are swelling up so big I can barely take a step. I'm in so much pain, and I just kept pushing through until literally I couldn't walk, and hitchhiked from almost Maryland back to North Carolina. And for 5 years, I couldn't walk barefoot because the pain was so intense. I abused my body to try to fit into a masculine stereotype about my strength, when really I was just a fool. I was anything. There was no wisdom in what I was doing. I was harming my body for the sake of trying to be a man. And it's so sad. It's so heartbreaking.
Hearing you say that breaks my heart, man.
Mm.
Because with the guys in this group, with the guys on this podcast, so many of us are abusing our bodies.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
We don't realize it. We're going to work each day and just disconnecting from porn. It's the most kindness we're offering ourselves in the whole day, because we're trapped in a cubicle, or we're at home working remote and hours on end on the internet. And it's just, it's just so sad.
Exactly. It's so heartbreaking. And that's where I can have such kindness to men who feel so trapped, because it's like, yeah, you feel like this is your best way out. This is what you feel like kindness is. And yet it ends up being its own prison. And for me, it ends up trapping me so much that I literally almost commit suicide. It steals. It first feels like it's a gift, because you finally feel pleasure. You finally feel desire. You finally feel all these good things that are God ordained. And yet it ends up trapping you in a new prison.
I have this image of you refusing to listen to the message that your feet were telling you.
Yeah.
And in the name of masculinity, ignoring it, avoiding it, pushing it down. In the same way, in our bodies, our pain is telling us something. And as you say in the book, you must address the pain beneath the porn.
Yes, exactly. Our bodies tell the truth, right? Our bodies, they know what's going on, but yet porn dulls that sense of connection. Mm-hmm. It dulls that sense where we can read our own bodies. Right? Yeah. We're numbing out. We're disconnecting. And so part of the book I write about, male embodiment. Like, how do we begin to practice blessing our penis, blessing our genitals, blessing our bodies, even though we feel like they've done much harm? How do we begin to honor and bless our bodies as good?
I can hear someone hearing you say that, blessing our penis, and thinking, what? My penis is the curse, man. Doesn't Paul say, put the flesh to death?
Right. Oh, I remember, man, those prayers of just wanting to cut off my testicles, wanting to cut off my penis so I would stop using porn. I remember all those accountability groups, and we had the jackpot. If we masturbated, we had to put in $5. I still want to go back to that church and see if our money's hiding in the drop down ceiling, because we just put a bunch of money in there. It was like nothing worked, and I hated myself so much. And that's part of it. Do you know that God resides in you? He calls your body a temple. Are you really going to curse where God lives? You are an image bearer. If you curse yourself, if you curse your penis, you curse God. Take that one to the bank. Go talk to your pastor about that one. It might not go over too well, but that is so true. God is integrated within us. And if you curse your penis, you curse God. So will you learn to bless? Will you learn to honor the God in you?
Yes, amen. Bringing blessing, bringing honor, experiencing
Mhm.
kindness. You know, your wife has written this book, Theology of the Womb.
Yes.
I think we need a theology of the penis.
It's in the works, man. My buddy and I have been developing it. Basically, sadly, it's based on mostly patriarchy and domination. Historically, how that's looked, right? And so we gotta name how we've used our penis as a part of conquering and devouring, but then we have to reclaim what a healthy theology of the penis looks like. But it is in the works, but it's a ways out.
Okay. Well, I look forward to that
Unless,
whenever
yeah.
it's coming out. I mean, the books seem to be flowing out of you these days.
Yes. I got a lot to say, right? I spent so many years devouring and harming, and so sadly it was a hard teacher. And so now, as I've worked hard in my own therapy for 15 years, working hard to become a man I can respect again, sadly it's given me a lot of story.
It's given you a lot of story. That's another big part of the book, learning to enter our stories, to write our stories.
Exactly. Yeah, I share a story of my own abuse in the book, and then have folks like, how do we learn to engage story? Because how do we become safe, a person to tell a story to? How do we learn to tell our own story? And so to use my own story as a model. And then, and it's something that I do in all my men's groups, is we have to learn to be vulnerable with each other. That's how we build intimacy and connection. That's how we retrain our bodies from the porn use, is we have to become, we become differently in how we engage.
So you're telling me that by writing a story from my life and reading it to other men, I'm retraining my body?
Yeah. Retraining your body how to have connection, right? How to engage, how to learn. How do I learn to hear a story? I cannot adequately love myself well. Like I can't, if I don't take my own story well, I'm not going to take someone else's story well, right?
Mm.
I can only take someone as far as I've gone myself. And so if I don't do my own story work, with my own grieving work, my own knowing my story of abuse, how am I going to honor another? How am I going to enter? And that's why you see a lot of pastors not being able to do that work well. We weren't trained how to engage each other's stories.
Man, that's so good. And it allows us to hold the story of a significant other, of a spouse.
Exactly. It's root. That's how we begin to have intimacy and connection with our spouse, right? With somebody that we love and care about, because porn has trained us to be disconnected in our engagement, disconnected, disembodied with our sexuality. How do we then reverse that when we've actually loved someone? Like I remember, 15 years ago when I met my wife, and just realizing like, oh my gosh, like this woman is legit. Like I'm a poser. Like realizing I couldn't bear her, and so I sabotaged it, nearly ruined the relationship. And then realizing, sitting in my first year class under Dr. Allender, listening to him talk about marriage, dating another beautiful woman. And I'm like, what am I doing? I love Christy. Like, why am I dating this other woman? But I was still acting out. I was kind of on the last parts of my acting out, where I went to 5 different colleges and just tried to date the hottest girl at the college. I was just like always looking for that answer, always looking for that woman to save me, when I didn't know real love when it showed up in my life, and I fell in love and then ran from it, because real love exposes the faults. Like every time, real love exposes, the imposters, and I was an imposter. So real love was going to expose me. So I had to end it. I had to sabotage it before I got exposed.
Wow. Self-sabotage. This is a category which many of us can say, oh, yep, that's me. I do that to myself.
Right.
But if I'm struggling with that, where do I go?
Yeah.
What do I do?
Well, you got to find a good sage. You got to find some good help. You got to, go to good therapists. Connect with you. Connect with me. Like you got to begin to get some assistance in this work of
Yeah.
stopping this sabotage, because you'll never be fully liberated.
And I love how you have connected this story work and this body work, which maybe on the surface level doesn't feel like it applies to porn and relationships, but in fact, it is the deepest, most crucial thing that we need to do in order to heal.
Exactly. Yeah, I started, I was trained in more narrative therapy. In the last 4 years, I've really begun to integrate somatic body work into my work. So we're doing crazy stuff. I mean, I remember in men's group, I had this guy break this door down with a baseball bat, and we're just like fully engaging our bodies, so I have people wrestling on the floors, full out beating each other up, but it's just like, we got to engage our bodies. We have to begin to bring our bodies to the table, because our bodies have been brought to the table in the harm. So we got to bring it into the work.
That's good.
And so, a few months ago, men's group here on the East Coast, we did, I took these pillows, and I just had this guy stand in the middle, and I just said, everybody hit him, beat him up. And then I told the guy in the middle, I said, take our pillows. And then I told the outer guys, I said, guys, don't let him take your pillows. And we just start whacking on this guy, and he's this, super nice, kind, genteel man. And then all of a sudden he starts getting annoyed because we're whacking the crap out of him with these pillows, and we get harder and harder. And then something switches in him, and he just starts, like, some strength ignites, and he just starts ripping the pillows out of our hands and like tackling us. And it was just like, there you are, because your strength, like our anger, there's a healthy anger, and it's connected to strength. And so when we give away our strength, when we give away our anger, we give away our strength, because people think that anger is equated to aggression, right? And equated to violence, because that's what we've seen. And so many men have given away their power. And it's like, no, we can actually be angry, and we can be strong in a healthy way, and we can step into our power to overcome porn. And that's the type of work that I'm doing and that I'm loving.
Oh, so for this guy, ripping those pillows out gave him a redeemed experience of power.
Yeah, he stood up strong, right? He stood up, his back went straight afterwards, and he looked us in the eyes, right? And it's just like, he just did the work, the emotional work of in a sense, feeling like a coward and feeling weak. And he stepped up, and he took us on. And there's so much of life that requires us to take on, that says no. We should practice screaming no. We should practice screaming stop. We practice these things of how do we get our voices back, because we've lost our voices. We've lost our power. And part of overcoming unwanted sexual behavior is actually becoming powerful. And one of the things that I break away from, like SA, their first thing is we're powerless to stop our behavior. And it's like, I get that. And that's actually kind of important to name at the beginning of the process, to name your powerlessness. But if you stay powerless, you will not overcome this. You have to own both your glory and your depravity. You can't just be powerless. We actually need you to be powerful, and step into who God has called you to be.
Come on.
Woo! Bring it.
Andrew, there's so much blessing and adventure. Like, when I hear you talk about that pillow fight, I'm like, man, I want to be there. I want to be a part of that.
Yeah.
And what a difference from the typical purity culture accountability group, which is just so cerebral and spiritualized, versus getting into our bodies, getting into our stories. Like, that is a much more healthy picture of what it means to function as a man. It's more centered. It's more integrated.
Yes, exactly. We cannot cut off our masculinity, and yet we also need to not be violent. We also need to not be aggressive. And how can we own both and really step into this? And this directly impacts how we engage the world and how we engage our sexuality.
At the beginning of the book, you open with some words that sound to me like the most simple yet revolutionary, unbelievable truths. You say to your readers, I believe in you. I believe in your goodness. I believe in your ability to self-reflect, to break down and let go, to be humble, to change, and to heal.
Yes, I deeply believe in men, and people, get on me a lot because I speak out against men a lot. And they're like, "You just a man hater or whatever. You're just a feminist." And I am a feminist. And yet I am a feminist because I love men. I'm a feminist because I believe in men so deeply. And so many times men get such a bad rap because, and we're required. So like, we're not required of much. There's almost like this benevolent, like, "Oh, well, he's just a man. He'll never emotionally connect." It's just like, oh my gosh, do we really think that poorly of men? Like, what if actually you can expect a lot? Because let's start requiring a lot of men because it's actually in them. That's who they are. I believe in men so deeply that I speak out against the violence that I see and that myself and my gender perpetuate.
And that's what you were saying earlier. True love reveals the imposters.
Exactly.
And isn't that a call to health and true manhood?
Yes.
It's like, hey, we're going to be real about all of our crap, about the stuff we don't like about ourselves. We're going to go deeply into our stories, the ways that we have been harmed and the way that we have harmed others. And in that place, we're going to learn how to be human.
Exactly. And yet, like, I remember 4 years ago coming out with an online course called "What About the Men? Engaging Male Violence." It sold like 4 courses, because men don't actually want to deal with their violence, right? Men don't actually want to be held accountable and engage their own selves in so many ways. I speak out, write about men's issues. I checked on my Facebook the other day, 9,000 something followers. 83% are women. I'm writing to men. Why are women, especially abused women, so drawn to my material? Because they're longing for authentic engagement that they're not getting at home. They're longing for somebody tell the truth about what I'm experiencing, because so many men are not stepping into what they need to be, right? And so that's why I'm encouraged by your community and other folks are saying, no, I'm going to own my part. I'm going to tell the truth about myself, but you also need more tools. You also need to continue to be authentic. So your wife won't feel as lonely as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're trying to create a safe place, kind of a sandbox for us to practice these things.
Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes our theology can get in the way, and sometimes our theology needs a little bit of a tune-up. When you say, "I believe in your goodness," I hear somebody replying, "What do you mean? I'm a sinner. Only God is good."
Yes, I know that well. I grew up hearing, all about original sin, bad. And I get that. But here's my theological pushback to that. Before Adam and Eve sinned, before sin entered into the world, there was such thing as original goodness. We were good before we were sinners. Bingo. What if our journey's not back to original sin, but it's back to original glory? What if we are meant to return back to who we're meant to be before the fall? I have clients come in and it's so easy for them to engage their sin. I've done this. I'm crappy this way, that way. So great. So am I. The work isn't just to name your sin. The work is to get back. The hard work is to get back to your original glory, into your original goodness, who God has meant you to be. That is what actually is the hard work of therapy. It's not naming your sin. That's easy. It takes about 10 seconds. But entering in your glory can take years and years and years.
Yeah. And I hear you saying we need to do both. And we're probably better at one than the other.
Well, here's the thing. You can't actually step into your glory without naming your depravity. You can't. Go ahead and try. You can't, because stepping into your glory requires you to be honest. Well, are you going to be honest with your failures? Right? I can't be good at my job as a therapist and an author if I don't name my 13-year addiction to pornography and the objectification and devour of women. I don't want to. That part of my life brings a lot of shame. And yet I have to. And actually, that's what makes me really good at my job.
Oh, man. What a definition of true health, of true maturity,
Yes.
is
Right.
being able to bring out my immaturity and my unhealth. That's
Exactly.
paradoxical.
Exactly. And yet that's what actually makes people feel safe with you. Because it's like, look, I'm very human, right? I don't trust anybody that kind of presents too well. Like I've seen too much. I've met with too many people, right? 53% of pastors use pornography. Like I've seen too much. Unless you show me how you bleed, right? Unless you can show me your humanity, then I will begin to trust you and I will go to war with you. Like on your behalf, with you next to me, like I will fight with you, but like only until I see you bleed. I will not bleed. So many clients, I'm just like, you're not ready to work with me. See ya. Because it's like, I'm not going to bleed more than you are. Like I'm willing to walk with you, but I'm not going to go places that you're not willing to go. I've got stuff to do. Sorry. It's just like, I'm not going to waste my time and your money. And so it's like, we've got to really go for it, and it's going to hurt. Redemption cannot come without crucifixion, right? Mm-hmm. Resurrection cannot come. We're going to suffer unto resurrection, and that's a good thing.
We will suffer with him so that we may be glorified with him.
Exactly.
Not so that we can erase our physicality or our sexuality.
Exactly.
Not so that we can get rid of our emotions. Come into the beauty and strength which we've had all along.
Yes, exactly.
Man,
exactly.
It strikes me that our sin is temporary, but our goodness is eternal.
Beautiful. Well said. Because it's right? If we're image bearers of God, that means God is in your face. So go ahead and curse yourself. And next time you curse yourself, I want you to stick your middle finger up to God. And I want you to say, F you, God, and see how that feels. I bet it's going to change how you engage yourself. If you start just blatantly cursing God out loud, it's going to feel, but that's what you're doing every time you curse yourself.
Yeah.
You curse the very face of God because you are an image bearer of God. Oof. And what if we integrate God's spirit, God's image so much that you can no longer engage in self-contempt without cursing the very face of God?
Loving ourselves and loving God are not two different things.
No, it's integrated. Completely integrated, right? And it's not some pop psychology. It's not some pop psychology that's just like, oh, love yourself. It's just like, no, it's integrated. It's integrated in us. God, we are temples of God. This is where God resides.
His spirit lives in us.
Yes.
If God is your Father and Jesus is your brother and the Holy Spirit lives in you, and we have everything we need to become sexually healthy men.
Exactly.
There's another piece of relating to ourselves, which I find really important, which is trusting ourselves. And so many times trauma causes us to mistrust ourselves and to get out of touch with our gut and our felt sensations, and always second guessing myself and feeling like, oh, well, I'm sure the other person is seeing it more clearly, or just kind of cutting ourselves down and feeling like I can't trust myself.
Right. It goes back to being disconnected from our bodies, right? I mean, it goes back to that conversation of we cannot trust ourselves if we're disembodied. And so this healing work that you're doing of becoming more embodied, you'll begin to then trust yourself, and you'll hear the voice of God inside of you, inside of your body, as you begin to trust your body of like, what is right? Actually, here I'm like, 12, 13 years sober from porn. And, I'll be watching something and I'm like, again, it's not, but this is probably not good for me to watch. Probably not helpful. I've been sober forever. And yet some of my friends, therapists, sex therapists, he watches some crazy stuff, watches a bunch of nude, but he doesn't have the story I have. He doesn't, it's just like, I actually have to protect myself a little bit more because of where I've been and my propensity to objectify.
So in other words, in that situation, trusting yourself doesn't mean, oh, I can handle it, I can watch whatever I want. Trusting myself means, hey, there's a little warning signal going on.
Yeah. I probably should turn this off. I probably shouldn't, I don't want to watch this. This isn't good for me. This doesn't help me honor women more. And I probably need to change it, because we live in this pornified culture that's constantly pushing that narrative, that women are objects, that women, it's just not it's not a lie that I believe anymore, that I want to consume anymore. And so I'm always listening to my body of what should I do? What should I do? But when I'm disconnected from my body, then I just try to white knuckle purity, and it just doesn't work.
Yeah, that is a losing battle.
Yes.
No matter how many times we win, all it takes is one defeat to feel like it was all for nothing.
Right. Yeah. It's not helpful.
What I hear you saying is, rather than taking that militaristic approach of white knuckling it and fighting the battle for purity, what if we were much more concerned with listening?
Yes.
And with loving God, ourselves, and other people.
Yes.
And then seeing results in our character as a byproduct.
Exactly. One of the examples that I use in my book, Stumbling Towards Wholeness, is the idea of a monster at your door, right? So you hear the banging at the door, boom, 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 boom. What do you immediately do? You look and you're terrified because it's a monster. And so you run and you hide. And then what happens? Like, the monster doesn't go away. You actually just end up paralyzed, hiding in a corner, right? Like sucking your thumb, like trying to soothe yourself, terrified of whatever that monster is. Rather than, what if you say, hey, I've got 10 minutes to talk. You can come in, have a seat. Then you'll have to go. Why are you here? What's going on? What's going on? Shame. What's going on? Self-hatred. What's going on? Fear. How can I serve you? How can I be of help? We got about 5 more minutes. You can talk, and then you have to leave. Like, I'm in charge of my own home. I'm in charge here. You can come again tomorrow. Grief. Yeah. You can come again wherever you feel, but I'm going to engage you. I'm going to have conversations with the things that I fear most, rather than just run away, rather than shove the couch up against the door, hammer nails and 2x4s and block you, because then the monster still controls you. Rather than, you get to have power. You get to engage the monster on your terms. You get to have conversations and see. And what you'll see is that these monsters are no monsters at all. They're normally just really scared little parts of you that have yet to be healed.
Amen. The little boy inside.
Exactly. He's frantically fighting for something, right? That literally just needs to be engaged and needs to be loved.
And as long as we're avoiding him or attacking him or ignoring him, the little boy is in the driver's seat. He's in control, rather than the sexually healthy, mature man of God.
Yes, exactly.
Andrew, what does it mean to be a sexually healthy man?
Yeah, it's a great question. I would argue that you can't be spiritually healthy and sexually healthy. Like, they go hand in hand. They're not separate. And so as you engage spiritual health, you engage sexual health. As you engage sexual health, you engage spiritual health. And so I have a whole list of kind of attributes of what it means to be a sexually healthy man. And those are very helpful engagements. But let me just name a couple of them for your folks. So to be sexually healthy means to be present, not distant. It means to be authentic and true. No more secrets, no more hidden life. It means to have community, not be isolated. It means to live in reality, not fantasy. It means to engage humility, not arrogance, right? That's the same thing. We know our brokenness. We're not going to be arrogant when you know your depravity and your brokenness. It produces humility. A sexually healthy man is mature, not immature. He honors, he doesn't objectify. He's mutual in sexuality, not selfish, right? It's about mutual giving and receiving of pleasure. It's about kindness and not aggression. It's about patience and not demand. It's about strength and not insecurity. And it's about being unashamed, not ashamed. And so those are just some things that we dive into in this book, Sexually Healthy Man. And I hope you guys pick it up.
Yeah, and people can go online. You've created an online quiz so that we can answer questions and see where we're at.
That's right. Yeah, we'll put that survey link in here. And yeah, you can test if you are a sexually healthy man, or if you are a partner. You can test to see if your partner is a sexually healthy man, and then it gives some resources and whatnot at the end.
Yes, we will include those links in the show notes. And we are also doing a giveaway.
Woohoo!
Got 5 copies of The Sexually Healthy Man here, which we will be giving away live this week as this episode comes out at a live Q&A with Andrew Bauman.
Yes, I'm excited to give those away, and excited to do that Q&A so we can engage some of your listeners.
Sweet. So if you want to attend that live Q&A, hop into the Facebook group and we will see you there. Andrew, thanks so much for being with us today, for talking about this. It was fun, man.
Yeah, had a blast. Thanks for having me, man. Third time's a charm. I'll see you the next book, number 4, maybe next year.
Theology of the Penis.
There you go. There you go.
Sweet. What is your favorite thing about being a sexually healthy man?
That's a great question. I would say it's being shame-free. I spent so many years, and it felt like absolute prison. So scared that I was going to be exposed. So scared that somebody was going to find out that I was a fraud, that I was not who I said I was, because I wasn't. And for the last 12, 13 years to be porn-free and to just be me in every arena, you will find me the same person as I am as a therapist, as I am with my wife, as I am at church, as I am, whatever. Like, there's no more secrets. And that, to me, is the greatest gift.
Praise God.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. And I will see you at the live Q&A. For everyone else out there, always remember, you are God's beloved son. In you, he's well pleased.